Hello, thank you so much for joining me today. In this video, I'm going to talk about my quarterly goals. So for the past few years, I have been taking my overarching annual goals and breaking them down into quarterly goals or quarterly focuses. For some goals, it's an exact breakdown, like a numerical breakdown of the annual goal. For some goals, it's more of a milestone, something I'm trying to hit by the end of the quarter. And for some goals, it's just an area I want to focus on for that particular quarter. So each quarter, I film a video where I share with you how all of my quarterly goals or quarterly focuses from the last quarter went and all of the ones that I have picked for the upcoming quarter. So this is kind of our last one like this for 2022. We will do a Q4 wrap up of these Q4 goals at the end of the year, but then I will do a completely separate video for Q1 of 2023. I cannot believe we're already saying 2023. So one of the things I was trying differently this year is having a lot of quarterly goals. If you watched my quarterly goals videos this year, you'll see that some goals have 3 or 4 quarterly focuses for the quarter. And I just have been trying different things just to see what works. And sometimes that leads me to be a little too over ambitious. So in Q3, I set 11 quarterly goals, quarterly focuses. I crossed off 3 of them pretty quickly. Pretty quickly, I realized that 3 of them just didn't make sense for this quarter. Either it wasn't going to fit in my plan for the quarter, I didn't have time to work on it that quarter, or it didn't fit in the overall plan of like my goals in my life. So when we get to those, I will talk about when I decided to cross it off and why I decided to cross it off. But let's start with the first one, which is my Plan with Laken or my business revenue goal. So that is one that I just took the overarching annual goal and I broke it down per quarter. Now, I've said this in prior videos, I did not just take my annual revenue goal and divide it by 4 because my business definitely fluctuates throughout the year. So there are some quarters that are going to have higher business revenue goals than others. So I did hit my revenue goal for this quarter and I feel really good about that. However, spoiler alert, when we talk about my Q4 goals, I am completely removing my business goals from this type of a video. The next quarterly goal here I had was related to my overarching annual goal of my business system, which by the way, if you're just finding me for the first time, hi, I'm Laken. If you have not watched my annual goals video, my 2022 annual goals, the color coding and all the things I'm talking about will make way more sense. So in Q3, I really wanted to get comfortable with the HB90 system. And when I made this my quarterly goal, I actually hadn't even thought about signing up for the course. I probably could give this goal 2 checks because not only did I feel like in like the plans that I made for July, August, and September was I able to really execute on them, but I also decided to take the course, the HB90 course, which I promise. I've gotten so many messages and so many requests for me to give a review on the HB90 course and the system, and as of the time I'm filming this video, it was literally last week. So I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to share my thoughts. I really need to try a little bit more. Like I need to try the system, especially some of the things I'm changing about the system for Q4, like trying it her way instead of just my way that I was doing for the last 6 months or so. So I'm not ready yet, but I promise I will share my thoughts, all of them, before it goes on sale in December. You cannot sign up for it right now anyways. So I will share, well, you can buy the planner, but you can't sign up for the course. But anyways, back to how this relates to my quarterly goal of implementing the system. It was great. I feel really good about the progress that I've made and really good about carrying that in for the rest of the year and probably for a lot longer than that. The next quarterly goal was to prioritize time with friends. So if you watched, I think it was last quarter, maybe the quarter before, where I basically decided my New York City bucket list was no more, and really what I wanted to focus on for the rest of the year is prioritizing time with my friends while we still live here in New York City. I gave this one 2 check marks because this one didn't really need to be a goal. I put it down because there are times, there's obviously times, and I'm sure that you can relate to this, where it might seem like an obvious, like, well, of course I'm gonna do that. Like, of course I'm gonna spend time with my friends. Of course I'm gonna brush my teeth. But sometimes we need to put things down as goals in order to really hold us accountable to not putting other things first. Like putting work before spending time with my friends, or putting my exhaustion and wanting to just go straight to bed over brushing my teeth, right? So sometimes it might feel kind of silly almost to be putting down things that feel like a duh, which is how at some point I felt about this goal, spending time with my friends. But by having it down as a goal, I really was able to get into the mindset of prioritizing it and therefore excelled at it this quarter. The next quarterly goal was to continue on the birthdays, and I gave this a dot and not a check mark just because as of the time I'm filming this, I haven't quite finished the September and October birthdays, but I'm going to finish them. And that is always the case when I film these goal videos because I film them a little bit in advance of when I am actually closing out these goals, right? I'm filming this on September 21st. I still have 9 days left in the quarter. And so I am still planning to finish this and give this a check mark. The next quarterly goal was to document my honeymoon in some way. So we went on our honeymoon this quarter, which is one of the reasons why I had to cross some things off. But I wasn't sure when I set this goal what I wanted to do in terms of documenting our honeymoon. And if you watched a vlog that I posted about all of the products that I bought in order to document our honeymoon and to create a scrapbook, I am planning to scrapbook it. So I gave this the circle, which meant that I made progress on it, but I didn't quite finish it because I'm not done with it. I made a plan, I've ordered the photos, and I've ordered all the products, but I have not actually finished executing on it. So spoiler alert, you're gonna see that in Q4. All right, here's the first goal that I crossed off, and that was to work on changing my last name. So I got married back in March, but my honeymoon was booked in my maiden name, and I didn't want to deal with my passport and taking my marriage license to Thailand. So I was like, I'm gonna wait till we get back from the honeymoon. So we got back from the honeymoon, and I was like really prepared to start the process, Social Security, step one to changing my name. And then I kind of started to look a little bit more into how long that process was going to take and all the steps related to changing it. And obviously one of those steps is getting a new license. Well, if you don't know, we currently live in New York City, and we are moving to Chicago in February. It didn't really make sense. By the time I got my new social, and was able to go get my new license, not my new social, you know what I mean, got my social, my name change to Social Security, and was able to go get my new license, it was gonna be, I was gonna go deal with the New York City DMV in order to have a New York license for 4 months, and then I was going to have to go get, I guess I don't have to go get an Illinois license as soon as we move there, but I would plan on it. So it just didn't make sense to me to change my name, go get a New York license, and then immediately turn around and get an Illinois license. So I am postponing that goal until we move to Illinois. The next quarterly goal here was tracking, and this was to track some things for me related to us starting a family. And I'm actually not gonna go into all the details about why that goal got removed, because that's a lot of personal things, but that is one of the other quarterly goals that got taken off. The next quarterly goal was to continue to lose weight, and that one I did make progress on. Probably not as much as I wanted to, but that is one of the reasons why I don't put numerical goals a lot, which is very different from Sarah from Heart Breathings and her HB90 method, some of the mindset stuff. She very much supports you putting numerical goals that are out of your control. I'm not gonna go into all the details on why she thinks that, because that is within her course. But for me personally, especially my personal goals, I struggle with numerical goals because that is something that is not, weight is totally out of my control. Now, are there things I probably could have done to help further this goal, like some of the things I did or didn't do on my long vacations? Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? I still made progress on it, and that's what's important. And then the last quarterly goal that I crossed off was the digital declutter. So this purple color was really meant to capture some quarterly focuses that didn't fall into my annual goals. And part of me feels like I'm setting a bad example by doing that, because I feel like I set those annual goals. Why am I picking quarterly goals that don't fall into one of those categories? And the truth is, I could force it into one of the other categories if I really wanted to, but it kind of encompassed multiple of the categories and was something that I knew would support those other goals. That said, this is the one that I realized I did not have time for. I kept trying to fit it in. I kept putting it on my power sheets. I tried weekly, I tried daily, I tried monthly, I tried all the things. And I ultimately just realized I didn't have time to work on this goal. So I decided to just go ahead and cross it off. The next quarterly focus was to limit my social media time. And I gave this one a check mark because I haven't really been hitting my limits on my phone at all, which means I probably could lower them. But I feel really good about where, the progress that I made on this goal. Really, I wrote social media on this goal, and it was just Instagram. I would just focus on spending less time just mindlessly scrolling on Instagram. Now, I'm not carrying this goal over because I feel good about it. However, as of the filming of this video, I'm now 3 days into having the TikTok app on my phone. So I'm afraid that might make this goal come back at some point. Hopefully not, we'll see. And then the last quarterly focus was to prioritize my routines. And the reason I made this a focus, again, this is definitely one of those goals that encompassed pretty much all of those other goals, all of my annual goals. But the big reason I wanted that to be a focus is because I knew I was traveling a lot this quarter, and I wanted to make sure that I had something that grounded me when I got home that would make me really want to work on my routines. By having it on my power sheets, it really encouraged me to continue to work on them and work on that mindset that you don't have to do the entire routine in order to get benefits out of it. I know I've said that before. I know you've heard me say it, but my morning routine has a ton of steps. just because it has a ton of steps. And sure, on the best days, my best days, I'm doing every single one. Most days, I'm actually probably not. I'm probably skipping at least 1 or 2 of the steps, but I still gave myself the check mark for those routines, and that's the mindset I wanted to reinforce this quarter. So overall, I feel really good about how the quarter shook up. Even though I crossed off 3 of the 11 and I didn't give check marks to 2 of them, I feel really good about it. I feel like given everything else we had going on this quarter, I made a lot of progress on my goals. Let's move in to Q4. So I am cutting back. I am making things much simpler as we go into the last quarter, and I'm doing that for a couple of reasons. The first thing is that I am taking all of my business goals out of my power sheets. If you've been around, you know that that was a debate that I had around this time last year. I was sort of debating whether or not I was going to include that, because for years and years, Plan with Laken was my side hustle. It was a business, but it was a side business. It was not my full-time job. And so it fit in my power sheets because that's how I was using my time outside of work. It was a goal that I was working on. And so it fit into my power sheets. November of last year, I quit my full-time job to work for myself full-time. And so I really debated whether or not I was going to include my business goals in my power sheets. And I ultimately decided, yes, that I was going to include them. And I knew pretty quickly that it wasn't going to be the best setup. But one, this is gonna sound so stupid. I didn't want to lose the paint color. I know that sounds so dumb, but I love looking at the Roy Biv order of my power sheets goals, and I was like, oh, I don't want to lose the pink color, and I want a place to be able to track like all these things, and it didn't make sense anymore. It is, as my full-time job, the power sheets are not necessarily the best place for my business goals, and I finally have accepted that, and I am taking it off and fully using the HB90 system for my business goals, and I am just using this quarterly goals video, and therefore my power sheets. My October goals video will be up later this week. My October action steps video really will be up later this week, strictly for personal goals. Number 2, Q4 gets a little busy. I have the dance show coming up. It's the holidays. Vlogmas is right around the corner. I'm starting to think about moving. There's a lot going on this quarter. And so all of that combined with the fact that I do really want to focus on my business. I felt pretty inconsistent this year is probably the best word I could use in terms of my business, because I've always just had some big personal thing that was kind of looming. It was like the wedding, then after the wedding it was our trip to Ireland for a wedding, then after that it was our honeymoon, and it just felt like there was always this next big personal thing that I really never felt like I got a good groove with business things. So I really want to be able to prioritize that, and knowing that I need my free time outside of my business for rest and rejuvenation, and not necessarily for making big leaps on personal goals. So with all of that, I only have 4 quarterly goals for Q4 of this year. The first one is to continue the birthdays. That one's pretty simple. It's the same one that I've had all year. It is literally just to execute October, November, December birthdays, which actually are all very slow months for me in terms of birthdays. So I'm hoping by the end of the year, I feel good about the progress I've made on that this year, and can just carry that over as just a habit, part of my life as we move into the new year. So not only do I only have 4, but they are also all pretty small. So the second one is to finish the honeymoon scrapbook. Right, I printed out all the pictures, I bought all the products, I know what I want to do, I just need to execute. And that one, like, it's small in terms of the fact that it's very simple and straightforward. Like, there's not a whole lot of breakdown to it, but finding the time to fit that in is going to be something that I'm gonna have to work on this quarter. And I probably won't make as much progress on it in October as I want with dance and everything going on, but I do think I can finish this by the end of the year. The next quarterly goal is related to my weight loss goal, but I'm calling it take care of my body. And there's a lot of personal reasons. No, I am not pregnant, but there's a lot of other things going on that I am not actually writing lose weight, because I'm setting myself up for success, right? Even though last quarter I didn't maybe lose as much as I wanted to, the number was still down. I was still able to give myself that check mark. I can't necessarily say the same for this quarter, so that is why I have chosen to change up the wording and make my focus taking care of my body. I still wanted some sort of quarterly goal for this, like, physical health goal, because it's still something that's very important to me. You'll see that in my October goals. It's still very much a priority. It's just different than it has been the earlier part of the year. And the last quarterly focus is one that technically didn't fit into any of my annual goals, but it's one that I feel like I put almost every Q4, and that is to prepare for the new year. There are a lot of steps, it feels like, to preparing for the new year. I feel like I've gotten a pretty good groove of preparing for a new month. In fact, I have a whole video, a vlog on that, on all the things I do to prepare for a new month. I feel pretty good about preparing for a new quarter, clearly, but there are things that I feel like I'm not as good about preparing for a new year. And so not only do I need to do all those things this year, but I want to make it a system. I want a list. I want to feel good about it. So next year, I can just duplicate it, right? I just like redo all of the things. So things like resetting up our budget spreadsheet for the new year, both my personal and the business one, I guess. Like this is gonna be preparing both personal and business goals. Obviously, that's one of the things I'm gonna do to prepare for the new year. Like resetting, deleting the birthday spreadsheet, like all of those kinds of things that are yearly things that I want to reset for the new year. So that's it. Those are all the things that I am focusing on in Q4. It's very small, it's a short list because I'm also focusing on a lot of business things that are no longer showing up in my power sheets. So I hope that you still found this video helpful. I do plan to continue to do quarterly goals in 2023 and therefore continue to do these videos. Let me know if you like seeing these kind of more quarterly focus and how those things are going. And if you feel like quarterly goals is something you want to implement for the first time in 2023, maybe working together one-on-one would be a good fit for you. I've said this in a few places now, but if you are interested in kicking off the new year with a one-on-one coaching package, I would recommend starting it in December. The first 2 calls are really us laying the groundwork for your goals, what's important to you, and breaking those down. And I think it would be really beneficial to have those 2 calls in December, and then we can really hit the ground running in January. So if you want to talk more about breaking your goals down into more quarterly focuses and work together one-on-one on those goals, you can always click the link down in the description box to apply to work together one-on-one, or send me a DM on Instagram and let's chat and see if it would be a good fit for you. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching. Some multiple focuses, some multiple, that doesn't make any sense. A little over, I just counted them and then I forgot the number. But the big reason I really got a